حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
الحمد لله رب العالمين. الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونتوب إليه ونعوذ به من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا محمدا صلى الله عليه وسلم عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد وبعد. Verily all praise and all glory belong to Allah, and to Allah belongs the east and the west. We thank Allah subhanahu, and we constantly strive to be grateful for all of the blessings that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala confers upon us. The biggest blessing of all is the blessing of Islam. And the blessing of Islam is represented in our conscious surrender to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because the human being, as Allah created them, is capable of making choices. And Allah affirms this in the Quran. He says that even as it relates to matters of belief, even as it relates to believing in Him, this is a matter of choice for the human being. And no other aspect, no other thing, no other created thing is like that. And this is one of the things that makes the human being special. When Allah says in the Quran, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي Adam. He said that we honored, we dignified the children of Adam. Part of the dignity of the children of Adam comes from the idea that we can make a choice to believe in Allah, to even believe in our Creator. Because Allah gives us that choice. He says in another part of the Quran, لَا إِكْرَاهَ فِي الدِّينِ. There is no compulsion in religion. And sometimes people interpret this or they translate it to mean or that it only applies to non-believers. So some people say you can't make a non-believer be a believer. But in fact, this verse has no restrictions. So this verse means that even if a person is a Muslim and they choose not to believe, they have that choice, according to the Quran. They have that choice. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave Bani Adam, the children of Adam, this ability. He says it in Surah Al-Balad, وَهَدَيْنَاهُ النَّجْدَيْنِ. About the children of Adam, We are the only ones that Allah gave us the ability to choose a path, right or left, good or bad. Everything else in creation is subjugated to the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We are too, as it relates to control and dominance. We're not the dominators, we're not the controllers, Allah is. But as it relates to the matter of choosing to surrender to our Lord, we have a choice. This is how we're able to slaughter animals. This is how we're able to overcome animals that are more powerful than us, to control resources, to manipulate the resources, because this is what we engage in as human beings. The pre-existing resources, we manipulate them to our advantage, to our benefit. And the creation has no choice but to surrender. This is how a man can get on the back of a stallion, a little tiny jockey, 4'8", 120 pounds, can get on top of a stallion. This is, a communication that isn't spoken. The animal realizes who Bani Adam is by Allah. By Allah. The animal knows who you are. Even if you don't know who you are, the animal knows who you are. All aspects of creation. This is why there is no rebellion. In the sense that if man wants to use something or do something, Allah made all of these things. He says in the Quran, وَسَخَّرَ لَكُم مَا فِي الْأَرْضِ جَمِيعًا. This word sakhara, taskhir, means to subjugate. It is at your disposal, at your service. Everything. مَا فِي الْأَرْضِ جَمِيعًا. The entire earth. This is who Bani Adam is. So the same Bani Adam, you and me, when it comes to the matter of surrender to our Lord, yes, we have a choice. Allah says in the Quran, وَقُلِ الْحَقُّ مِنْ رَبِّكُمْ. He said to the Prophet, say to the people, الْحَقُّ مِنْ رَبِّكُمْ. The truth, its origin is from Allah. The truth of everything. And then he said, فَمَنْ شَاءَ فَلْيُؤْمِنْ. And whosoever chooses to, may believe. وَمَنْ شَاءَ فَلْيَكْفُرْ. And whosoever chooses to, may be kafir. This is why you can't kill people to make a Muslim. You can't blow them up. You can't murder them. You can't force belief into someone's heart. This belief comes from Allah. And the way that it is acquired is through surrender. And surrender is humbling ourselves before Allah. Because we know who Allah is. When we say Allahu Akbar, it means Allah is greater than me. And I might think I'm the greatest thing on the planet Earth. I really may. I look in the mirror and say, man, Alhamdulillah. Man, you got it going on. Well, Allah is Akbar. Allah is Akbar. And the voice that tells you and me that that Allah is Kabir. No. So, some of us know the difference between Kabir and Akbar. Kabir means Allah is great. Some say Allah Kabir. No. Allah Akbar. He's the greatest. Because He exceeds the capacity of our imagination to even understand His awesomeness, His magnificence, His power. This is what when we say Allahu Akbar, this is what we're saying. This is what we're acknowledging. When we go down in sujood, we're not just putting our faces on the floor. This is the position the ulama, the scholars say, this is khushu' and khudu'. That you put your head down, you bow before your king. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made us Muslim brothers and sisters. And for this blessing, we should be grateful. We should be deeply grateful. Because you don't know how many people are looking for the guidance that you have. People are searching. People are looking for the truth. You and me, and I was lately coming down 422, the weather, the snow blowing, the visibility is real low. And, you know, one little error in the steering wheel off the road. If I could do something about it, I would have. Right? But that's Allah's domain. Right? So when I see it, it's like when we had the eclipse. And people were parking out in stadiums and parks, and they had parties and they had beer, and they, oh my God, look at this. Oh, people crying, looking for a spiritual experience. What did the Prophet ﷺ teach us to do? To pray. Because that eclipse, scientifically, that eclipse is the moon or the sun inching over just a little bit. And by the mercy of Allah, they don't collide. So you and me, we know this spiritually. So we say, Alhamdulillah, they don't collide. Allahu Akbar, yes, because Allah got this. But when you're blinded by the arrogance of disbelief, you'll come up with all kinds of excuses and spreadsheets, and this is why it works, and the science is legitimate, but the author of the science is Allah. So the science is legitimate. But behind the science, beyond the science, is the creator of all things. So the blessing of our Islam, our conscious surrender to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is one that we should never ever take for granted, because as I mentioned, there are people who are searching what we have. So this means that you are on a journey, because Allah already gave you the tools, He gave you the map. And you're on a journey. As Allah says in the Quran, Ya ayyuhal insan, innaka kadihun ila rabbika kadhan famulaqi. O human being, O mankind, you are kadih. Innaka kadihun. You are on a journey. From where? Where'd you come from? Somebody answer. From Allah. To where? That's the journey. This is the dunya. The dunya is the road. But Allah said that this journey is kadih. You're going to struggle and strive and engage in conflict and tension, and it's all a part of the journey. And where are you going? Ila rabbika. To your Lord. And then what did He say? He said, famulaqi. And when you get to your Lord, you will find Him. The Quran speaks emphatically. Not, you get to the end of the road and you'll discover what's there. No. When you open the door, open the gate, dig the hole, you'll discover it. No. You're on a journey to your Lord, and when you get there, famulaqi, you will find Him. The certainty of this truth, when it resonates, when it sits and settles in your heart, is a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One that we should covet and seek. This certainty that all of this is worth it. The good of it, the bad of it, the ease of it, the difficulty of it. Because it results in what? I'm going back to where I came from, and I will find my Lord. I will see him. This is a tremendous blessing. And Muslims, our challenge is not to take our blessings for granted, because we think that it was just supposed to be this way. And the blessing of African American Muslims in particular, oftentimes we try to ignore it. And we can't, because the obviousness, the apparent blessing is that we are a people who have no identity, who have no geographical piece of land that we can definitively say right there. I know they got the DNA test stuff and all that now. I know they got that stuff. But we are the people, socially, we were tolerated. And we come from something. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought us back to where we came from. And this is a miracle. This isn't a mistake. It's not a mistake that you're a Muslim. It didn't just happen. When I was raised up, I was taught that our Islam is a miracle. That means it's a big thing. It's like Bani Israel, the children of Israel. When the Pharaoh had this plan to eradicate them, kill the men and enslave the women and get rid of the young people. So they don't have a future. And Musa alayhi salam went and took the people from one land to another land. Allah said to Bani Israel, اذكروا نعمتي التي أنعمت عليكم وأني فضلتكم على العالمين. Remember the favor that I showed you and how I preferred you over other people. Not because of their ethnicity, not because of their land, not because of their race. He preferred them because he gave them Musa. The same way he preferred you and me because he gave us Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is indisputable. And so you and me have to have a place inside of us where we recognize this blessing. Now, how do we get to that place? We recognize that place, we get to that place first by acknowledging the blessing. This is why when we say Alhamdulillah, the meaning of it, right? And you know, I'm going to give you an example. So a couple of weeks ago, Imam Anas was interviewed by the Inquirer, right? And they came here, they observed the Quran class, they interviewed him, they talked to a couple of the students, and it's the after school hifz program, right? So, read the article, I read the article, and I noticed something. I read the article, and the article talked about the amount of time that Imam Anas has been teaching Quran in this community. The article said something like 30-something years. And then the article also said that in 30-something years, approximately 6 or 7 people have memorized Quran. And I said, oh, subhanAllah, that's nice. But I know my people. And somebody might read that and say, that's all? 30-something years is only 7 people? Right? And so I said, you know, that's because people don't know what's going on. And what I mean by that is this. First of all, it's not easy to memorize the entire Quran, and those odds are always consistent for the most part. So for example, my sheikh, when I studied in Medina, and you know, out of 100 students, the year that I became Hafiz, it was 10 of us. Everybody knew Arabic, everybody was in Medina, everybody had the same teachers, but it was 10 of us that memorized the entire Quran, because that in itself is extremely difficult to do. But that's not the point that I want to focus on very quickly. The point that I want to focus on is this, that in the 30-something years that Imam Anas has been teaching Quran in Philadelphia, in West Philadelphia, in the hood, right? Yes, approximately 6 or 7 people have memorized the entire Quran. But do you know how many people have been blessed to learn to read the Quran? That's an entirely different number. That means regular average folk, like you and me. When I first went to Medina, and my first teacher was Sheikh Muhammad Ghalib, Ustad Muhammad Ghalib. He was from Yemen. And I walked in there, little black boy from West Philly with a hand shaking. I knew Alif Bata, by rote memory, Alif Bata. He said, say the alphabet, read what's on the page. Alif Bata. And he said, no, you're not reading. You have to read. And he taught me to read the Quran. Do you know how many people Imam Anas has taught to read the Quran? Dozens, maybe hundreds in that 30 years. People who went from Alif Bata, and there's some folk, grown folk, still doing it to this day, to reading the Quran in Arabic, so that when they come during the Ramadan prayer, or if they go to a mosque, and it's an Arabic-speaking mosque, and they hear the Quran, they recognize it. They may recognize the surah, because now they have a means to engage with the Book of Allah in its original language. That is a tremendous blessing. That's not a mistake. And I mention that only because sometimes the blessings are right in front of your face. And you're looking for something else. But I would argue that there is no bigger blessing than the blessing of the Quran. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, his first commandment was what? Everybody knows this, Iqra. But what is the significance of telling the Prophet to read? The significance of it is that the Quran is a book that is meant to be read, not just memorized. The memorization is a tradition amongst the Muslims, and it's a great tradition. But the really important thing about the Quran, and the way that I first connected to the Quran, was even before going to Saudi Arabia. My elders here, right? And then I would watch them struggle, you know, trying to learn Ayatul Kursi, trying to memorize the last 3 of Baqarah, and proud of themselves, reading it, and then trying to memorize it. That's engaging in the Quran. That's how you find that deep faith. You have to connect to the source of it, which is the word of the Lord. Otherwise, and Allah has blessed us in this city to see your Islam, your righteousness can be what you put on. The clothes that you wear. For us brothers, how much facial hair I got on my face is an indication of my righteousness. Whether or not my sajda mark is permanently displayed so everybody can see that I put my head on the ground. That my subha. All of these are symbols. But the righteousness, taqwa, is in you. And the way that you get it is you go to Allah. As the Imams every Friday tell you from this minbar. We do a lot of talking from this minbar about connecting to Allah, your relationship with Allah. Well, it starts with your relationship with the Word of Allah. Do you have one? Again, we're in Philly. There's a lot of ways to be Muslim. There's a lot of ways. And people can be Muslim all kinds of ways in America. This is the United States. So any kind of Islam you want, you can create. But is that the Islam of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Allah told the Prophet, "Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq." Read in the name of your Lord who has created all things. When Allah gave the Prophet this command, the Prophet said, "Ma ana biqari." But I don't know how to read. I can't read. He was unlettered. He hadn't learned how to read. Allah didn't say, "Oh, that's okay. It's all right, man. You don't have to read. Just do this, this, now." Iqra wa rabbuka al-akram. Read in the name of your Lord who is the most magnificent. Because this commandment to engage the book by reading is essential and fundamental to you and me calling ourselves Muslim. It's essential. And what that means for us, black folk, because I know my people, some of us, reading that word. When you hear the word read, fortunately, the guy in charge says he doesn't like to read, so, right? But reading, we hear this word enough. But really, if we don't begin to figure out how to overcome this block, we're putting ourselves at the mercy of someone to abuse us spiritually. If you can't read what Allah says He wants from you for yourself. And I know, I was a little kid, right? I used to love to read. I'd go to school, my little books, right? 3rd and 4th grade, dudes smacking the book out of my hand. And what you reading now? Right? Didn't stop me from reading. I learned to read at home. When I was out with my friends, I didn't. But I understand some of the things. Some people have challenges. But there is no more worthy investment than that investment in yourself, equipping yourself. We live in Philadelphia. The illiteracy rate in this city is astounding. And those of us in our community, we're right in that population. Now this is a circumstance. And circumstances can be overcome. It's not something that we cannot overcome. But we must invest in the work of overcoming this circumstance. This is why the Prophet ﷺ, it's admirable if you come and you sit in front of Imam Anas and you're struggling. Like one of the brothers said at the banquet last year. He confessed. He said, Imam Anas is tough. When I first started reading the Qaeda, I couldn't get it right. And he asked me, he said, man, you can't hear? What's wrong with your ears, man? Right? Because he's tough as a teacher. He's tough. But mashallah, the brother humbled himself. It's not about you, man. This is a trust. You can't read the Quran any old kind of way. You can't fake it. Wallahi, you can't fake it. If you fake it, you're playing. Not with me, you're playing with yourself. So there's a humility. The Prophet ﷺ said, the person who reads the Quran with skill gets one reward. the person who reads the Quran and they struggle with it, they get how many? They get 2 rewards. One for what? One for reading and one for struggling. Because Allah knows we're going to struggle. But our ego, man, I already know that. What you know, bro? Because, you come in front of Imam Anas, he going to look at you. In your eye, what do you know? Tell me what you know. But if we can overcome some of these things, the reward on the other side is tremendous. Because we are doing like the Prophet, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, who, when he said, Ma ana biqari, I can't read. Oh Allah, I can't read. Allah didn't say you get a pass. This is why you and me, Muslims, African American, Black American Muslims, we don't get a pass. No, Allah directed the Prophet, read anyway, and he did. He had to follow who? Jibreel. So Jibreel taught him how to read what he was supposed to read. So the blueprint is clear, brothers and sisters. So if you want to get to this place of connection, we start with that. Start with the most valuable thing in existence, the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that he gave you by virtue of you saying, La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah. We pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blesses us all to connect to him by way of his Quran. أقول هذا وأستغفر الله العظيم لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين والمسلمات من كل ذنب فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد الطيب الطاهر الأمين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. A very short announcement, brothers and sisters, and it's connected to what I was saying in the first part of the khutbah. So first of all, today is the day of honoring reading, honoring literacy. And if you want to know, I'm telling you what I consider a personal jihad for all of us in our community is this jihad to acquire knowledge. The jihad to acquire knowledge. And to acquire knowledge through learning and through reading books. Because this is one of the ways that many in our community lose so badly. Because they struggle with basic skills. Right? And these skills can be built up. But first, the confidence of the person has to be built up. Right? And then when you connect to the awesomeness of everything around you through knowledge, you don't need much to inspire you or to motivate you. And in the Muslim tradition, reading, even in African Muslim tradition, people always talk about Timbuktu, Sheikh this one, Sheikh that one in Africa. And forget that Timbuktu was home to, during its time, one of the largest libraries in the world. And even today, in the city of Senegal, in the country of Senegal, the city of Touba, the homeland of Sheikh Ahmadou Bamba, he has an extensive, large library because Muslims always engage knowledge. And until we overcome this thing that gets in the way of us engaging knowledge, our children engaging knowledge, not nonsense, knowledge, and make this a fundamental priority. Like, we got to do this. There's no way around it. If you want to excel at anything, you have to have the knowledge of it. And you can't fake the knowledge. Everybody's talking about the movie now, Black Panther, right? I used to read that comic book. The thing about the Black Panther and that community of people is that they were scientists. How do you become a scientist? Running the streets? No, you become a scientist by applying the power of your mind, which we can all do. We can all do that. I've seen it too much. I know too many old people who went back to school. Some of you brothers in here, I know all of the excuses that we make. Man, go back to school. Stop talking about it and do it. Find a way to do it. Find a way to push yourself. To believe in yourself. Because there is no other way. Without knowledge, we don't have. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says it. فَاعْلَمْ أَنَّهُ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ. You have to know first that He is the one Lord. You have to know that. You have to have knowledge. And so, this is a segue to this brief announcement about the return of our devoted leader, our fearless leader. We call her our fearless leader, our teacher, and our shiro, Dr. Suad Islam. And I speak with this passion about literacy in books because this is something that Allah has blessed Dr. Suad to instill in the learning community in this school, where kids that come to this school, they don't have a choice but to begin to love learning and love reading, because that's all Dr. Suad talks about, is reading, right? Dr. Suad had recently been away from her beloved Quba Institute, sharing her wisdom and experience in the UAE. And maybe one day, inshallah, we will have like a coffee, sit down with Dr. Suad, and I'll let her tell you what she learned over there. Because you would not believe some of the stories. After turning the page on that chapter of her professional journey in education, she is back in the United States. I'm sure that many of you have already seen her on site and have had the opportunity to speak with and embrace her. Quba Institute, as well as myself and Imam Anas and countless others, are forever indebted to Dr. Suad for her tireless service. As she is transitioning back into life on this side of the world, I ask that you say a prayer for her and let her know that she is back home with her folks. May Allah continue to increase her in wisdom, Ameen, in goodness, Ameen, and success, Ameen. May Allah grant her all of her wishes and continue to bless us to learn from her and to be inspired by her, Ameen. On behalf of the executive team, Principal Imam Qawi, and the staff and students of Quba Institute, we all want to say welcome home, Mudira. And I just wanted everyone to know this, because it's not a mistake. That 37 years or 35 years or whatever represents a journey of sacrifice and giving and commitment, and that's how you get it done. Whatever you want to get done, that's how you get it done, right? And so this is why we are indebted to Dr. Suad. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent her to us, and we embraced her, and she embraced us. And Allah has blessed us to be able to engage in doing a unique kind of service, and we pray that Allah ta'ala blesses us to continue to do this service. على رسول وعلى سيد المرسلين وإمام المتقين فقد أمركم الله بذلك في كتابه العزيز.